Oh, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and what a wonderful day again for us to meet and continue with what we have to do, Greek 113. I'm introducing you today to the verbs, Greek verbs, and their characteristics. What is it that we have to know, or what we have to take care of regarding Greek verbs and their characteristics? You remember last week we dealt with the Greek nouns and their cases. I just hope you still remember all the cases, all the nominative, the vocatives, dative, genitive, and so forth. And please do not forget that that is very, very important. Again, my slides are repeating just like last week. Introduction today to Greek verbs. I'm sorry there I have Greek nouns, but it's Greek verbs. That's basically what we are doing, and their characteristics. You look at your study guide, on completion of this study unit, these are the things that I really want us to achieve. You must be able to give a synopsis of Greek tenses, a synopsis, a kind of a summary of Greek tenses, and identify the characteristics of Greek verbs and also explain them, and also to recognize and explain at least the present indicative active form of the verb, and also the present infinitive active form of a Greek verb. Now that's basically what I would at least want us to achieve by today. Now, when you talk about tenses, I hope all of you know what I mean by tense. That is the time of the action, or whether is it in the past, or whether it is in the future, or whether it is in the present. That's what we mean by a tense. Maybe there might be some better definition than mine, but generally speaking, we're talking about the time. Now, Biblical Greek has like 6 tenses, and this is the synopsis that I want to do, and please take care of that. And they are divided into 2 groups. The first group of tenses, we call them primary tenses. And under primary tenses, we have now 3 tenses, what we call the present tense. And that tense denotes a statement, or will always talk about an action or a statement happening in the present. A simple statement like I walk. It's something happening now, and it's a statement in the present. So Greek tenses have that, the so-called the present tense. And also in English and Afrikaans, you also have that. And secondly, under primary tenses, we have a future tense. It can denote a promise or an action in the future, something that is going to happen in the future, and hence we have that as future tense. English and Afrikaans and any other language, I think we have, we know all this. The perfect tense in Greek, remember, I'm just giving an Afrikaans and English relation or examples, but now we are talking about the Greek tense. We have the so-called perfect tense in Greek. Now, this tense denotes an action completed in the past, but this action has a continuing effect. That is, the effect of the action done in the past continues to the present. Hence my shortened explanation there: a completed action in the past but has a present effect. For instance, when you say, we have been saved by grace, Ephesians chapter 2, verse 8. By grace we have been saved. If you go and look at that tense in Ephesians chapter 2, verse 8, it's a perfect tense. It is an action completed in the past. Christ has died for us. We have been saved by grace. But because it's a perfect tense, it has a continuing effect. What does it mean to us today, now, here, as I stand here, that I have been saved by grace and so forth? So it is not just an action completed in the past. It is completed in the past, but it has a continuing, or the effect continues to the present. And that's what we have in the perfect tense, the Greek perfect tense. So this is the synopsis of the first group of the tenses, that is the primary tenses. I will come back and talk about the augment and so forth, but for now, let's just continue with the secondary tenses. Under secondary tenses, a Greek verb has the so-called aorist tense. The aorist tense is, it's a tense that which denotes an action done and completed in the past. Now you have to differentiate between the aorist and the perfect. We said the perfect, it's the action happened in the past, but then the effect continues to the present. But then the aorist, the action is done in the past and is completed, and it doesn't have any effect to the present. Say, for instance, I killed. I'm sorry to use a bad example. Or I kicked. I studied. It's something done in the past, and it's done and completed there. It does not necessarily have to have an effect continuing to the present. So we call that an aorist tense, a simple action in the past, a simple and it's a concluded action in the past. That's what the aorist denotes. And secondly, under secondary tenses, we have the so-called the imperfect tense. The imperfect tense. Under primary tenses, we had the perfect tense. And then now, I'm sorry for that. Under under secondary tenses, we are having now an imperfect tense. What does the imperfect tense denote? This is what we normally call in English the past continuous. A past continuous tense in English. It relates to the imperfect tense. And my summary there, it says, an attempted action or a repeated action or a continuous action in the past. That means the action has been attempted to be done, but not done. You did not do it at the end, but you wanted to do it. And also an action done in the past, and it was done repeatedly. You did that time and again, repeating it and so forth. Or else it can be an action that was done in the past or a continuous action in the past. I can give you an example for this. I was kicking the ball, or I wanted to kick the ball, or I attempted to kick the ball. And you can sense now the action that I am, or the example I am giving you, the action is actually happening in the past. It was repeated, or it was continuous, and so forth. So that's what the imperfect tense would give us. And lastly, under secondary tenses, we have the so-called the pluperfect. In the primary tenses, first and foremost, we had the perfect, but then under secondary tenses, we have the imperfect and also the pluperfect. What does the pluperfect tell us or teaches us or denotes? It denotes I call it the past of the past. This is a past action, or I call it past of the past. Let me just give you an example. She had eaten the bread before the man arrived. Look at the two underlined verbs. First verb is eaten. It happens in the past. She has eaten. She ate. But then, before the man arrived. In other words, this action happened in the past. Before actually this past tense arrived, happened. So, that's why I call it past of the past. And this tense is not so popular in the biblical Greek, but it is there. You will meet one or two words in the pluperfect tense in biblical Greek. So I'm mentioning it here, and I said this is the synopsis. I'm giving you an overview of how tenses in Greek and how they function. So other than this, you won't find any other tense in Greek. This is the summary, this is the synopsis of all Greek tenses, divided into two, and that is the primary tense and also the secondary tense. I see a hand. ASM, just open your mic and speak to me.
You hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Is that Grant?
Professor? Yes, it is, sir. Quick question. Can you give us one more simple example of a pluperfect tense?
One more example of a pluperfect. Are you a soccer player?
Just a simple example of a pluperfect, please.
Are you a soccer player? Okay. Let's say in the field of play, he had kicked the ball before the referee blew the whistle. Are you still there? He had kicked the ball. In English, many a times the pluperfect would be he had, H-A-D. He had done something before something happened. So it's an action in the past before actually the simple past happened. I'm not sure if I'm clear. He had kicked the ball before the referee blew the whistle. You have two verbs in the past, but the other one happened before the first past tense happened. The kicking of the ball happened in the past. Happened in the past before the past tense blew the whistle happened. Is it? Come again, my facilitator.
Perfect. It's actually blue. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, it's the pluperfect. Is that clear? Let me have a final word, an indication. Is everything clear?
Your explanation was perfectly clear.
Oh, thank you. Though I lost your last words there, but I hope everything is clear. So, but I said this verb, this tense is not so popular. You will get to meet one or two words in biblical Greek of a pluperfect tense, but it's not so popular. But then I'm just mentioning it as part of the synopsis, just to give you an overall overview of how tenses are and how they work in Greek. And please, all the facilitators and my dear students, don't forget this explanation. The present tense denotes a statement, a simple statement in the present, and then the promise in the future, a completed action in terms of the perfect in the past, but it has a continuing effect, or the effect continues to the present. Your secondary tenses, aorist, done and completed in the past, imperfect, attempted, repeated, or continuous action in the past, and the pluperfect, which we have just discussed. Thank you so much, and please take care of this. These are very, very important. I'm sorry for my repeating slides. Now let's get to the characteristics of Greek verbs. Having given you now the synopsis of how Greek verbs look like, all the tenses, how does the verb specifically, or the Greek verb specifically, function? Greek verbs can be analyzed. Of course, we have to analyze, and that's why you are doing Greek. You must be able to read Greek. And in terms of this module 113, we want to make use of electronic tools like Libronics, Logos, BibleWorks, and so forth to help us analyze. But at least for your sake as a Greek scholar, you must at least know something. So therefore, we are going to analyze verbs. We do exegesis so that we can preach sound sermons that are scriptural, that are faithful to the scripture. Then we have to analyze, verbs. Now, Greek verbs can be analyzed in terms of time, mood, diathesis, person, and a number. And I will go into this in a little detail just now. What do we mean by the time? Just like in English and Afrikaans, the time indicates the time at which the action took place. It can be in the past, it can be in the present, can be in the future. And we have also spoken about pluperfect, the secondary tenses and also primary tenses. I will get back to that. Again, I said I will come back to that synopsis. And the nature of the action, the past tense, imperfect, I've just given you those indicating a continued action in the past. That is very, very important in Greek. The emphasis in Greek is not actually at the time or the time at which the action is done. It's the emphasis in Greek is in the kind of the action. Whether it denotes a simple statement, whether in the past or future or present, or whether it is a completed action in the past with a continuing effect and so forth. But then all of you will understand what I mean by time, and that is what I'm trying to explain here. The time at which the action took place. You won't be able to successfully, sorry Ori if I'm too fast, you won't be able to analyze the verb if you don't know its time. You basically have to know the time of the action. And secondly, we have the mood, is the form of the verb. What are we talking about when we talk about the mood? The first mood in a Greek verb is the indicative. I destroy or I teach. Analyze this verb for me. It's happening in the present and it is basically a simple statement. For instance, he goes or he walks. She writes, you listen, or you are listening. You ask questions. It's basically indicative in a sense that you are just making a statement. It's not a command or anything, it's just a statement and it's happening in the present. That is what the mood of the verb will tell you. But that's just one out of the three that we have. And we also have the imperative. And we use this mood to express commands. Stand up, sit down, keep quiet, walk, and all that. You will always have an exclamation mark if it's just one verb used, but then you understand what I mean by an imperative. For instance, go. I'm not asking you, I'm commanding you. It's not a suggestion. I'm telling you to do what I'm telling you to do. So also in English and Afrikaans, we have the imperative. Greek also make use of this mood of the verb. So the first one, the indicative, it's just a simple statement. You make a statement. And then the second one, the mood of the imperative, you express the command. And third, you also have the infinitive in Greek. Now this mood, we use it to express an action in general without reference to a person or a thing. For instance, to go. There is no person involved. And that example, to sing. It's just an action. It's not even referring to any person or a thing. It's just a form of a verb, which in Greek we are going to use it more for like indicating your reason, your purpose, and so forth. So that is why under Greek verbs, this mood is very, very important. And up to so far, we have dealt with only 3 moods, and this is all we have under Greek verbs. That is the indicative, you make a statement, and then it can be in the past, it can be in the future, it can be in the present, but just a statement. I will go, I go. They have walked, or they walked. That is a statement. It can happen in the past, can happen in the present, it can be in the future. But then it's all summarized under indicative mood. An imperative. The command also can be an aorist imperative in the past. I will tell you, we will talk about this next week. The non-indicative mood, moods. We will talk about that. How do the what is their, or what do they denote, and also the infinitive. Now my repetition is leading me into temptation. I'm running into trouble, but then I will talk about that come next week. The diathesis. Remember, we are still busy with that sequence. We're dealing with the time, mood, and now we come to the diathesis. What do we mean by the diathesis? The diathesis of a verb indicates whether the subject is the person or a thing performing the action, or a person or a thing being acted upon. This is basically what we know in English and Afrikaans. We know it as an active or the passive. He sings. It's active. John kicks the ball. It's active. John is performing the action, or the subject is performing the action. But you will find a scenario sometimes where the subject is not performing an action, but the action is acted upon the subject. For instance, we can turn the sentence, John kicks the ball, around. The ball is being kicked by John. In other words, now the ball is our subject, and the ball is not performing an action, but the action is performed upon the subject. And so that is that's the passive form of a verb, and that's what we call the diathesis. Coming to the person can be I, or you, or he, or she, or it. That is now in the singular form. So we're talking about first person, second person, or third person. It can be singular or plural. And the person is included in the suffix of the verb. In other words, I will give you an example now. Greek verbs also have this. Many times you won't find a person indicated or made clear in Greek. Sometimes you will find it, of course. But say, for instance, a word like luo. This word means I destroy. We will talk about it just now. I destroy, or I loosen, to loosen someone so they can be free. That person ending, uo, it's actually your subject. When you translate this, you would say, I destroy. That uo, that ending, tells you more about the person. It is actually your subject. And in some scenario, you will have lu eis, which means you destroy. And that you, it's that person ending. So I will teach you how to conjugate this. At least you have to know this even as a Greek 113, so that we can manage to use our Libronics and so forth going forward. So the person can be the first person, second person, third person, singular or plural. We, you plural, and Afrikaans, jelle, and then hele, that is derde persoon, third person, plural. Those are the dynamics of the person in the Greek verb. And then lastly, the number, of course, I've mentioned it here, that's why I've underlined. It can be singular or plural. Okay. And let's see I'm sorry for that. Characteristics, not of Greek nouns, sorry, that's a mistake. Greek verbs. What then are we looking for when we talk about Greek verbs? Sorry, I'm not so used to this, but what is happening there? I think there's a repetition of what we talked about last week. I hope we get this right. Okay, forget the last slide. You can delete it. Now, to recognize and explain the present indicative active. This is basically what I want you to know. At least we are not going to memorize all the conjugations, but this one at least you must know, so that you can know how Greek verbs conjugate. I'm still using the same word, luo. It means I destroy or I loosen. And this is how we will conjugate it in both singular forms and plural forms. And see how things will be changing here. Let me just give you the Let me just give you the sorry for this. Oops. What's going on now? Okay. Luo, in the first place, in the first person, you have luo, I destroy. I have given you that example already. In Afrikaans, ek vernietig. And also, that is in the singular form. And in the plural form, it changes. It will be luomen. That means we destroy. Look at the inflectional changes that I talked about when we discussed the verb, the nouns last week. The ending is changing. And when the endings change, the meaning changes. More especially the subject, the who is doing the action part changes. The second person, lueis, in the singular. You, singular, destroy. Ek dink in Afrikaans is jy, vernietig. Okay? And then luete, the second person, plural. Look at the inflectional changes. The form is changing at the end. And the subject of the verb or the sentence is changing also. In the third person, luei and luosin. Luei will be he or she or it loosens. And then in the third person, they loosen. I have put that ni under in brackets, because sometimes you will find it, and in the sentence sometimes you won't find it. If the verb in the sentence following luosin begins with a vowel, for instance, if the verb following there begins with a eta, alpha, and something, then you must put that ni at the end to avoid the assimilation between two vowels. Then in terms of reading and pronouncing, you won't be able to hear whether the first verb ended and so forth. So therefore we have to put that consonant to divide the sound. Remember, the New Testament writings grew from the oral traditions where people will stand in front and read while scribes or the writers would be listening to them and write. So this science was developed this phenomenon was developed to avoid the assimilation, the melting together of vowels. So sometimes you will find that ni, and sometimes you won't find it. And let's just continue. Now, this is basically what I encourage you to at least memorize. Luo, lueis, luei, luomen, luete, luosin. And please, I really need this. You won't be able to memorize the rest, but at least the present indicative active is very, very important, at least as a foundation, as the basis. I see the hand raised. I think it's White River. Put your mic on, and then let me hear what is the question. Yes.
Would it be correct for us to say, luo is I destroy, lueis is you destroy, and then lue is third person, is that he destroyed?
Of course, and that is it. You
destroy.
You
And then the
destroy.
third person would be what? He destroyed.
He or
Destroy.
she
He destroys.
or
Third person,
it.
correct. Yeah, okay.
or it destroys. Now remember
then-
English?
Or it, yes.
Yes. And then luete.
And second person plural is like you all.
Yeah,
Like
it's you.
if you're from the south of the states, y'all.
But
you
then
all
you are
destroyed.
talking about plural here. Yes. Exactly.
But plural, you all.
Yeah,
yes.
you are. In English and Afrikaans, that is
correct.
baie dui like that is yele. It's you. And then in the third person, and then you have
Yada, yeah, yes.
they.
Okay.
Yes. I'm sorry for that, but I think now,
They
thanks
destroyed.
for your question. that
Wonderful.
It
Thank you
makes
so
it
much.
clear.
No,
Yes.
thank you for clarifying.
Thank you so much. Well, this is basically what I want us to know at least. I know with 113 we are going to the electronic sources and all that, but you can take maybe an aorist indicative active. This is how it conjugates. Not exactly. Say for instance, in the aorist, you will have that lu, elusa, elusas, elusen, elusamen, elusate, and then elusan again. And also the perfect, it has its own conjugation, which I think maybe I will make some notes and then I will upload them. The whole synopsis of verbs in the present, indicative active, in the imperfect, and so forth, so that you can know, at least have an idea of how all these verbs conjugate. But as I'm saying, the present indicative active, no chance. We have to know that. At least it will serve at least as a foundation, as a basis upon which you can build the rest of your conjugations. But then Libronics and BibleWorks, whatever program you will use or logos will help you to do that. Right. And then there is also the present infinitive of luua. The secret, it's always looking at the endings. Look at the ein ending. It's in the present infinitive, and that is to destroy. When you translate it, luein, to destroy. It's different from luei. It's different from lueis. It has the ni, the n at the end, and it will mean to destroy. So in the test, I might ask you and say conjugate luo in the present indicative active, and this is what I will be looking for. Luo, lueis, luei, luomen, luete, luosin, and you must be able to translate that or interpret it. So that's, and then also can ask you, give me the present infinitive active of luo. Okay? So you are also going to have so many other forms. You can have the aorist infinitive, you can have the perfect infinitive, and so forth. But I just want us to get this right. At least you are a Greek scholar, you studied Greek, at least you must know at least something in terms of conjugation. Okay. Now let's see what's in store for us. How do I analyze a Greek verb? I'm just doing this exercise with you so that at least you have a bit of information about this. Like I said, your electronic source will help you to analyze. You're going to use your logos to analyze. You're not going to memorize. Who can guess what this word means for me? Who can tell me what does this mean? Ginoskuomen. It is from the word ginoskuo. the word, sorry, that's my N, ginoskuo. What does this verb mean? Ginoskuo. That's my S, sorry. Anyone out there, Keke? You wanna, or any wild guess? My Afrikaans class?
Ginosko.
Yes, Arnold, come, help me.
To be aware. To know.
To know.
Ginosko means to know.
Okay, it is not, let me correct you there, Arnold. Many times I hear people saying this, to know. Once you say to know, you are actually in Greek telling me this verb is infinitive. Okay? And it is not infinitive, it is an active. And that or tells you it is I know. Please.
Okay.
You are correct in terms of the meaning, but in terms of the mood and the diathesis, you are not correct. It is not to know, it is I know.
Okay, sir.
And thank you very much. That's what ginosko means. Like Gnosticism, people who will emphasize knowledge and all that and so forth. That's basically where they got that. Ginosko means I know. Now, the word which I have there as an example, ginoskomen. If you go back to what I've just given you in terms of that luo, lues, luome, luei, luomen, remember? That omen ending is the first person plural. And now this is how we should analyze it. We know ginoskomen will mean we know. So therefore you will first tell me it is present time. Present, and then it's not an imperative. I'm not commanding someone to know something, and I am not just referring to a verb to know. It will be infinitive, but it is an indicative. It is a statement in the present I am making. We know. Okay? And then it is here, we know. We are actually performing the action. The action is not being performed or acted upon us, so therefore it is indicative. And we are busy analyzing the verb now. So it's present, and it's indicative, and it's active. What is the person there? It's the first person. We. It is not you, no. It is not he or she or it knows. It is not they know. It is we know. Then it's a first person. And who can tell me then what is the number there? The number involved here. ASM, just open your mic and tell me what is the number here. KK says?
Plural?
No, okay, yes, that will be?
Plural.
Plural, okay? Good, it's plural. And then it's not singular, it is not I, but then it is we, okay? So that's how we analyze a Greek verb, and that's what we have there. And normally, or usually when you analyze, thank you, White River, are you still raising your hand for a question? Okay, thank you. So there was no question. Then it's plural. In Greek, after saying all this, then you have to go back to the dictionary. You must tell me, because this verb, Paul, I see the hand raised. Was it my eye? So I saw someone. Okay, please, if you have any question, you can stop me anytime and ask the question. You must always tell us, because this verb, ginoskomen, you won't find this in the dictionary. In the dictionary, you are going to find ginosko, as I asked, ginosko. This is what we call the lexical form of the verb. This is what this is the form of the verb which is provided in your dictionary. And this is just a form of a verb in the text because it's communicating. But then in analyzing it, therefore, I will always ask you to give me the lexical form of the verb. So after telling me it's present, indicative, active, first person singular, you must tell me the lexical form of ginosko. And then lastly, you must tell me what it means. And it means here, I know. Where is my... Yes, the meaning is I know. Then you can tell me, Paul, I see something. What is happening here? If you have any question, raise up your hand and open your mic. Speak to me, please. I don't want to leave you behind.
Yes, sir.
Arnold, please speak to me.
Can you please explain again the lexical form, number 6? I didn't quite get it.
Okay. The lexical form, I said, is the form of the verb which is, let's say the original form. The form of the verb which is provided in the dictionary. When you're looking for the meaning of that verb, in the dictionary, you won't get this form. Only maybe in a lexicon and so forth. The lexicons will help you with these forms. But then in the dictionary, this form is given, ginosko. This is what we call the original form, the dictionary form of a verb. Okay? Yes, Keke has the question here. A good example Keke here is giving me, like act, acting, or action is still a noun, you might get it, but then acting, it's not a verb you are going to get in a dictionary. But if you are, say, reading a text and you meet the word acting, if you go to the dictionary, what will you be looking for? First, you will look for the verb act. And then from there, then you would know what is acting all about. So this is the dictionary form of the verb, but that is something you are going to get in the text, not necessarily in the original form in the dictionary. So that's what I mean by a dictionary form of a verb. Also in Greek, this is we know, but then it comes from the lexical form ginosko. That means I know. And I hope everything is clear in that sense. Okay? Right, so this is basically how we analyze Greek verbs, and you will be doing this until you quit your Greek. Okay, thank you so much. And I will be looking forward for you to use your Libronics, your logos. It will help you. In the logos, I will show you when we come to that study unit. You just put your mouse over a Greek verb, and then logos will tell you it's future, indicative, active, and so forth. But then this introduction or this lesson is actually at least empowering you to know when Libronics or logos tell you this is future, you know already what it means. It's a primary tense, action either in the present or in the future or completed in the past but with continuing effect and so forth. You must at least have a bit of knowledge about this. And then you must also explain. The last thing is to explain. Okay, Paul, I see now your microphone is open. Speak to me. Paul, speak to me. You seem to be having difficulties with your microphone.
Yes, Chief.
Yes, you're welcome, Paul.
Okay.
Are you in the Afrikaans class, Paul? Your microphone is open.
My antwoord nie, want ek het vir my goedjies aangestuur. My antwoord nie. Kan nie wees nie.
Nee, hy is maar nou maar ons belangrijk.
Yeah.
En die hokkies wat hy nou agter en niks doen?
En hierdie manne wat niet is. Jy gaan nou vir hom.
Yeah, but their mics, Paul, your mic is open and you are speaking to one another and you are disrupting the whole class now. I just close their mic. Yeah. Okay. Please, Paul and your brothers there and your fellow classmates, please concentrate and focus. If you have a question, please speak to the rest of us, and so you can help us also. Okay, always explain your verbs. And how will I explain that? Genoskomen, you will always come back to the fact that it's indicative, and I've said it's a simple action in the present, or a simple statement in the present, and that's how you should explain. I really want to take care of this. And now this is the end of the class. I see the time is gone. Complete the assessment in page 14, not for handing in, but it's basically what I've spoken about today, the synopsis of Greek tenses. And please take care of that luo, lueis, luei, how to conjugate luo in the present indicative active. And then please, all the facilitators, if you want to use, or basically you must use the test that I am giving the contact students. We are writing a test, we agreed this Friday, yes, with the contact students. And please, Grant and everybody else, give me a specific email, your email, because I don't want to upload the test on Ifundi, then the students have access to it. I will send an email specifically to you with that test, and it's set and ready. We must write it at least this week. Please just send me a specific email as a facilitator, because we have so many centers out there. I don't know you, one by one. So indicate to me you are a facilitator and you are looking for that test, then I can send it to you. And this coming Friday, students must have their first test. And White River, speak to me.
The assessment on page 14, is that in the reader, or is that in Mounts, or is that in the outline?
It's in the
You said on page 14, but you didn't say which page 14.
It's in the study guide. In the study guide.
14 in the study guide.
In the study guide, yes. Remember, I'm going with the study guide.
Thank you kindly, Professor, and we'll be in touch for the test. Thank you so much.
Please, thank you so much. And I hope you enjoyed the class and everything else we did today. God bless. Thank you. That will be the end.